2 years ago, my husband and I decided to rent out our apartment in Frankfurt, Germany, to sell all of our stuff and move to Australia. We weren't really planning to become digital nomads, but then a global pandemic hit and Australia announced a travel ban, and we already sold all of our stuff. So a new exciting chapter of our lives began. We were a bit stuck in Germany in the beginning because of the global pandemic. But then once things started to loosen up a bit after the first wave, we decided, hey, let's go to Bali. Since we only had 2 suitcases each left, there was nothing really holding us back. We were just young, wild, and free. Well, I actually never thought that we would be staying here for over 1.5 years. I never really set out to be a digital nomad, but I wouldn't want to miss any second of it. In this video, I want to talk about the challenges, the learnings, the downsides, but also, of course, the good and the positive that came out of this. If living in Bali as a digital nomad is something that you could imagine yourself doing, make sure to stay until the end because I have some amazing tips for you. But before we start, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button because I have tons of amazing content planned for you and your support means a lot to me. And if you're new here, I'm Laura. I'm a finance coach and entrepreneur based in Bali. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Let's start with the why. So as I already mentioned, we never really set out to live in Bali. Our original plan was to move to Australia because we just fell in love with Australia when we were there on our honeymoon and on vacation. And I was like, yes, I want to live there. All was going very well until, well, you know, the global pandemic hit and we couldn't leave anymore. And I never thought that this might have such a huge impact on, the timeline of things, on our lives in general. So in the beginning, we were just thinking, okay, we're just gonna stay in Germany for a while. It's not gonna take forever. So a few months, it's fine. We lived with my mom, which was a very interesting experience. But after 6 months, it was getting a bit, well, it was time for a change, let's put it that way. And then we saw that Bali opened up for people with a business visa again. So we were like, you know what? We'll move to Bali until our visa is processed and we can finally move to Australia. So it took over 1 year and 2 months for our visa to finally arrive. We got it. And we can go to Australia. But we decided to enjoy our time in Bali a little more, so we will be moving to Australia in 3 months. The sacrifices I made. Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, we actually sold almost all our stuff, and this was a lot. I had a full closet with so many clothes and shoes and bags, and I sold probably 80% of it. That's crazy. I sold most of it, and then also obviously I donated a lot of stuff, but it was insane. I was feeling like I have a full-time job just selling my stuff. Then we also sold all our furniture, and it took quite some time to actually get rid of all these things. At one hand, it was really nice and I was feeling very free and light. But on the other hand, it was also really hard to sell all those kind of things because I obviously had memories with some of my items, and it was just really hard actually to sell all those things. And then we also had to stay a little longer, so I sold so many things and had almost nothing to wear because I was like, oh, whatever, I just buy myself some new nice clothes in Australia, and then we never went, and I was like, fuck. But it made me realize how little I actually need. I don't need a full closet with all these clothes. I just need a few nice things that I love to wear that I can like combine in a nice way, and that is totally fine. I don't need all of this stuff. Once we let go of everything, we obviously also had to leave our friends and family behind, and this can also be very challenging sometimes. I'm, for example, very, very close with my mom, and it was not always easy for me to be so far away because I cannot just go over to her place and have a coffee with her. I cannot just meet with her. Obviously, we have phone calls and FaceTime, but it's not the same than actually being with a person in the same room. So this is indeed very challenging. And if you're somebody that's very close with your family and friends, you might have a bit of a hard time when you go abroad for a long time. But this is actually the two big things. It wasn't really that hard for us to leave because we were ready. We were ready 6 months ago when we set out to move to Australia, and that never happened. So we were kind of in a transitional phase anyways. So once we booked our tickets, we were like, yes, this is actually happening. Something is changing, and we had nothing holding us back. The preparation. It did take us quite a while to actually prepare for all of this. Well, when I'm saying all of this, I mostly mean moving to Australia, because this was the main action. When we sold our stuff, rented our apartment, this was very time consuming, and it actually took us a couple of months. So I started selling my stuff once I knew that it's set and we are moving to Australia. This was about 4 months before the actual move. And then I also started selling furniture, and we lived like in a bit of a weird apartment for a while, because our apartment was pretty empty since I sold some of the stuff already, because I was a bit hesitant to wait until the last minute, and it's not always super comfortable. So if you're planning to do something like this, well, you will not always be comfortable, but in order to grow, we just need to find comfort in discomfort. For the actual move to Bali, I think it didn't take us longer than 2 weeks. We applied for the visa. The visa came in about a week. Then we booked our flights. We just settled a few things that were left in Germany. We packed our suitcases and we were ready to go. The adaptation phase. When you arrive in Bali, there are a few things happening, and it will take a while for you to adjust. Let's start with the weather and the climate. It's actually really hot here in Bali, and it's also very humid. And especially when you arrive in rainy season, which is summer here, it's really hot. So your body might need a week or two to finally adjust and for you to feel comfortable and not be sweating all the time. Also, for most of us, Bali is in a different time zone. So depending on where you come from, it might take a while to get over the jet lag for your body to adapt to the new time zone. Once that was settled, I needed to learn how to ride a scooter. I always had a car in Germany, and I was actually really comfortable with driving a car on the right side of the street. But here, the streets are very narrow, and usually everybody goes around with a scooter. And also, you drive on the left side of the street. So this was a bit of a challenge for me, but me, the independent woman I am, I knew I had to learn how to ride a scooter, so I'm not dependent on my husband or on Gojek. You can actually, there's an app where you can like book or call like rides where you drive on the back of a scooter of like a Gojek driver. But that was not a long-term option for me. So I actually learned how to ride a scooter, and it took me a bit, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, and now I'm a very confident driver. And I'm also really glad I learned it, because it would be very annoying to always having to call somebody to drive you around. Also, I have no idea when I go back to Germany now how I would be able to ride on the right side of the street. But luckily in Australia you also drive on the left side, so I'm already used to it now. And also, traffic here is very, very different. From the outside it looks very chaotic and a bit intimidating when you come from a foreign country like Germany, for example, because in Germany everything's very structured and there are rules for everything and there are signs and everybody adheres to it. But here, it's very chaotic and very different. But actually, once you drive, it's very easy, because you just go with the flow and everybody takes a bit of care for everybody. So it looks more intimidating than it actually is. Another thing is that when you set out to be a digital nomad, you have no home. You don't have a place that you call home actually. And I never thought that this would be a big deal for me, but it is a bit weird because you usually have an apartment that you like choose your environment, you choose where you put things, you buy the furniture, you buy the decoration, you make it nice for yourself. So it's not as comfortable as your home. That's why people say the comfort of your home, you know? So when we came here, actually the first 6 weeks we lived out of our suitcases because we didn't really find a place yet, and we also needed to get familiar with what areas we like. So we just switched places a couple of times, and it wasn't that easy to actually find a place where you don't have to make so many compromises because most of the places are really not built for long term. There's a lot of construction here in Bali. Then maybe it's open living. This is also very common. So the living room and the kitchen is completely open and you cannot close it. So as it's really hot, you cannot turn the AC on when you sit outside, and this might be a bit of a problem when you want to work from home. Some people don't really mind, but I need to sit in a quite cool environment to actually be able to work, otherwise I just can't focus. So yeah, living as a digital nomad requires a lot of moving around and being flexible. So we had our first villa that we rented for 3 months, then we moved to an apartment that we rented for 5 months, which was nice, but it was actually a short-term rental space. So it wasn't really set out to be like a home. The kitchen wasn't really there. There was just like this little induction like thing that you can put like a pot on. And that was basically all of the kitchen. Then there wasn't really like a wardrobe. It was just like this little, this thing where you just can put your clothes on, and like this little rack, but it wasn't like a wardrobe at all. So your clothes was just lying there all the time, and it just wasn't really like comfortable as a long-term space. But still, the positive things outweighed the negative for us. That's why we stayed 5 months. Then we had another apartment for 4 months, which was super nice. It was an oceanfront apartment, but it was really hot in this apartment. Yeah, that was not ideal, but we really loved that apartment, and I actually would love to have stayed there longer, but it wasn't a resort, and resorts are starting to open up again as things in Bali start to pick up again. So at some point, all the short-term places that rented out long-term during the pandemic were like, well, we want to make some money again and rent short-term. And now we live in a villa with some of our friends. It's a very big villa, it's very comfortable, it's a 6-bedroom villa, and this is actually a long-term rental, so it was rented for a whole year. But now we are a bit far out of where actually the center is of everything and where everything's like happening, where all the cafes are. It's really nice for us now, and I think especially when tourists come back, that's what you need, to have like this little quiet space. In the beginning, you obviously want to have the full experience and be right there in the middle of things where everything is happening, where all the nice cafes are. But the good thing is that all these like furnished places are still very affordable comparing it to other countries. The blooming phase. Living in Bali comes with a lot of perks and benefits. It's very easy here to adapt good habits like meditation, like journaling, working out, living a healthy life, because everybody else around you is doing it. The environment here and the community is incredible. I've met so many amazing people, and I always wanted to have this environment of great people around me that I'm surrounded with, that inspire me every day, that motivate me. And this is absolutely what I found here in Bali. I think I met more inspiring and amazing people here in Bali in this 1.5 years than I met in my whole life in Germany. That's maybe a bit exaggerating, but it actually is really crazy how many amazing people are here. Another thing I really enjoy is that I actually got back to dance classes. I love dancing so much, And finally here I have like a regular routine where I go to dance classes every week, and it gives me so much joy. I also have a very productive work setup here. So I sit down and work and I'm super focused and I get stuff done to actually then be able to enjoy all of my free time and spend it in a way that, that makes me happy. I was also able to grow my business here a lot. A lot of distraction that you have when you live somewhere else is just completely taken out. That's the convenience of living in Bali. Villas you rent always come with a maid, so you don't have to clean. Then, and usually wherever you live, there's no laundry machine or washing machine, what's the name? No washing machine. And you just have to give your clothes away for laundry. Also, eating out here is very, very affordable. So you will eat out most of the time. We are actually having a private chef at the moment, so I don't spend any time in the kitchen. So all these kind of things that you would usually do when you live somewhere else, you don't have to do them, so you can spend them working, you can spend them having a good time, just becoming better, improving yourself, and living a very, very, very happy life. And obviously the weather in Bali is incredible. Even though sometimes it's a bit too hot for me, it's amazing that the sun is shining every day. Unlike in Germany, when it just gets dark and cold and gray in autumn and winter, it's just sunny here every day. And when you live in Bali, you get to experience the best of everything. It's literally true. You have the ocean, you have rice fields, you have yoga, you have mountains, you can go surfing, you can explore, and you can just do day trips or weekend trips to all these amazing locations. We did multiple weekend trips, and you are so relaxed after this that you actually feel that you had a whole week of vacation. It's incredible. The homesick phase. Even though I love living in Bali and I can just go on and on and on about it, how amazing it is to live in Bali, there comes a time, I would say every few months, where I feel quite homesick. I start missing the infrastructure, the order of things, the cleanliness, the city vibe, even doing my own laundry. I would never have imagined that I would say this because I just never enjoyed cleaning. But doing my own laundry, I actually do miss, because if you give your laundry away all the time, a lot of things get fucked up. I have lost many clothes to laundries already here. Sometimes I even miss a little more moderate climate because it's just so hot sometimes. And I actually was in Germany in December for a few days, and when I breathed in the air, it was just so crisp and fresh and nice, and I actually missed this. But after 2 days, it was just way too cold, so I missed Bali again. Another thing is that as convenient as Bali really is, with all these perks and benefits, it's really hard to get some things here. For example, beauty products, or I don't know, for example, protein powder is like something that's really hard to get, because everything that is imported is taxed with a very, very high import tax. There's not this nice little store where you go, where you get everything you want, or order stuff online like Amazon. There's no Amazon here. We have something else, it's called Tokopedia. It's a bit similar and you can get a lot of things there, but still not everything. And also, one more random thing I actually really miss is a good and a well-priced selection of plant-based milk. Basically, every plant-based milk is imported, so they are insanely expensive. Now, paying about €4 for plant-based milk is totally normal, and those are actually the cheap ones. Most of them are more like €5 or €6 for like a plant-based milk, a liter of plant-based milk. That's insane. But other things are cheap, so we all have to pick our battles. The realizations. Since moving to Bali, our quality of life has increased significantly. We actually live like millionaires in Europe, I would probably guess. since we don't need to clean, we don't need to do our own laundry, we don't need to cook, and we also get a massage every week. We go to the spa almost every day. We have so much time, even though we work a lot. And we do all these like weekend trips every other week or once a month. So yeah, we live a pretty good life here. It's also incredible how fast you grow in Bali. The environment and the energy, it's just crazy. You make like shifts and personal growth happens so much faster here. And then a lot of people actually say that. I don't know what it actually is. Maybe it's the spirit of the island or all the yogis that are here. Yeah, it's just a different vibe. It also made me realize how important truly your environment is. We always say you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I really realized what an significant impact your environment has on you. And here it's very easy to choose your circle of people that you surround yourself with, that these are like actually inspiring and positive vibe people. I would really love for everybody who experienced what I have experienced in the last years, because it was just such an incredible time of my life. And even though I don't really see myself living in Bali long term, like forever, but I can totally imagine myself living, I don't know, somewhere else and coming to Bali maybe for 2 to 3 months per year. Another big thing that I realized, especially with our history, that we were actually supposed to move to Australia and then was stuck in Germany because of the pandemic and all those kind of things, it made me realize that everything happens for a reason. And out of every situation, there's always something good gonna come out of it. And even though you might not see it now because it might suck now, you will look back and be like, I'm so lucky and I'm so happy that this happened. When the travel ban for Australia was announced, I was like, fuck, we sold everything, now we're stuck here, we have to live with my mom. And this was really a challenging moment in my life, and I was like, wow, this is not how I planned things out to be. Obviously it could have been worse for sure, but it wasn't like what we imagined what would happen. And it was not, it was very challenging. And then once we came to Bali and have lived here for so long, I was like, wow, I'm so grateful that this happened. Because before, sometimes I would think about, well, what if we have just gotten to Australia a bit earlier and we would actually be there, but I think we wouldn't have had a good time. Australia had so many lockdowns and we would have had a very challenging time in Australia. So everything came exactly as it was supposed to be. We were stuck in Germany. It was still very comfortable for us since we could live with my mom, we could save a lot of money. And then we were able to come here and live our freaking best lives. And I wouldn't want to have it any other way. Tips for digital nomads to be. If you feel like this is something that you would really love to do, but you don't really know where to start or how to get here, the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure you have the financial situation figured out. So what you need is either a business or a remote job that allows you to work from anywhere in the world. If you don't know where to start, I made some videos on remote jobs. I will link them here for you so you can check those out. If you have the financial situation figured out, it's time to decide if you want to do this full on or if you just want to dip your toes into it a little bit. So this means, do you want to sell everything, rent your apartment, make a cut and be like, I'm leaving for good? Or maybe you just want to put your things into storage. You might want to sublet your apartment so you can come back to it after a while. There are multiple options on how you can play this out. Once you have this figured out, you need to figure out the visa situation for the country you want to move to. For Bali, this is pretty easy. All you need is a business visa or a social visa. There are different kinds of names for that. This is very easy to get. You will just need a good Bali visa agent and they will do the whole process for you. Usually that visa lasts up to 6 months. You do have to renew it every month though, and it's very weird. You give the visa agents your passports because they will run it through immigration, and it's a bit of a weird feeling because you just don't have your passport anymore. But this is how it's usually done. And for other countries, it obviously depends on what you plan to do. How long do you want to stay? Maybe you can just even go on a tourist visa if it lasts up to 60 days, and yeah, just figure out if this is something that you would actually like to do and you would actually like to stay longer. Once you have this figured out, it's time to book your flights. And once you booked your flights, make the most out of it. You only live once, and there will for sure come times where you might question your decision, times where it will get uncomfortable, where it might be challenging, but in the end, it's all gonna be worth it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, to let me know that you enjoyed this content, and also hit the subscribe button to not miss out on any of my new videos. And well, if you press the subscribe button and the bell, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.